Hey everyone, welcome to this interview. Today we are interviewing some of the cast from Purple Beatz.
If you enjoyed this interview, make sure to check out the film down below.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? I love the red background.
I'm good. Oh, thank you.
Very
And the
nice.
lips as well.
Matches. Love it. So
Matches.
We watched the movie. We loved the movie so much.
yeah.
So we're very excited. So basically, I'm going to just quickly read the description of Purple Beatz, and then we can get into, the questions. So It's described as a coming-of-age, music-driven romantic drama set in the underground drum and bass music scene of 90s London. So that is the tagline of the movie. So yeah, you are honestly so great in this. So we just wanted to know how
Thank
you
you.
acting and what drew you to Purple Beatz specifically.
Oh, okay, nice. So in terms of acting, I have always wanted to perform. I was one of those kids, those annoying kids who like forces their parents to like watch them do shows and stuff and like shred the karaoke. Yeah, so I just fortunately it became something and I just kept going. When I got to kind of after school, after uni, I went to drama school in London. I went to Mount View and trained there in musical theatre, which was great fun because I've always loved musicals. And funnily enough, haven't really done musicals since I've left, but in a great way, I've kind of fallen into theatre, kind of the straight plays, which I love. I love theatre. And then recently, kind of like fallen into screen, which is equally fun. And this has been a really lush opportunity to kind of see through a lead character. So yeah, there was a lot of learning for me as well on this one. But funnily enough, it was one of the first jobs that came through. My new agent specifically for screen, and I had a look at the script, and I was just like, yeah. I was like, I feel this character. I really enjoy the story. I love music and I love films with music in them. And I was just, everything basically came together like a universe moment. And I was like, okay, cool. So I will get to sing, but it's going to be on film. And yeah, I had a little cheeky audition with Lola, the director, and yeah, and then it was that she said yes, and yeah, we sort of made the film in a bit of a crazy time as well because it was kind of lockdown time. Um, but yeah, it was such a buzz, and to be able to sing in the film as well was really cool because I didn't really think that was an option until obviously you get the right thing
that makes
to
sense.
your inbox.
Do you reckon now you've done singing in a film, you would do musicals? Is that something you'd like to do in the future?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think that but musicals they've stepped up the game big time. Like In the Heights. Like I've just loved all the movie musicals that have come out. Like John Chu, Hey, Hit Me Up, whatever you're doing.
We loved
Wicked,
In the
obviously.
Heights so much. We loved In the Heights, and they're
so
doing
good.
Wicked as well. They're doing Wicked.
Yes,
so
they're
exciting.
doing Wicked.
Exciting. What's your
Cynthia
favorite?
Erivo. Oh, this is so hard. I do love Hamilton. I'm a big Hamilton fan.
Yeah, we are also. I feel like I'm in this conversation too often.
Yeah.
When people ask about musicals, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to say Hamilton, but it is Hamilton.
Yeah, it's like it's cliche, but it's also really true. I'm just like, I love it. I love it. I came to it really late. I came to the party really late. And then it was almost like a year later, I was like spitting the lyrics to everyone, and they were like, this happened a year ago. Get with it.
What's going on?
Get with it.
With the music in the film, obviously
Yes.
it's sort of, we see two music worlds. We see the drum and bass scene, and we see your character's love for sort of jazz and more soulful music. Are either of those two genres
what drew you to the film, or was it more the story? And which of the music did you enjoy sort of having to play with?
I think it's funny because what I really loved in the script was when she was just like, I know this, what I know is jazz and blues and soul, because I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, that is my story. I was like, that's my, because my parents like always had sort of 60s music, rock and roll, jazz, blues playing in the house when I grew up. So I have a real love of like old school jazz, Nina Simone and Etta James and Aretha Franklin and but like legends. And I kind of stuck in that kind of musical era, even when I was a teenager and everyone was like listening to, I don't know, whatever pop chart bangers. I was like, I had my Beatles t-shirt and I was like, woo,
Yeah,
like
I'm
repping the
different,
60s
guys.
vibes.
I love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
And so yeah, that was mainly kind of one of the things that drew me to it. I was like, SJ knows, she has that, she's going through that struggle when she lands in London. And I didn't know that much about drum and bass when I took it on, but as the character learns about it, I was like, go on then. Like it's a really important genre, and it's a big genre. So I was like, why not learn it as SJ learns it? So so it was that kind of draw for me, that kind of like character identification.
So speaking of the struggle of like when coming to London, we have a series on our podcast where we discuss our favorite tropes, and one of them is the struggling artist. And I feel like that's typically in New York, but in this movie it's in London. What are your favorite tropes in movies?
Oh, yes, good question. My favorite tropes. I love like the dark before the, I guess the what is the phrase? Like the dark night, like before the dark night of the soul. I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now.
Like the opposite of the calm before the storm.
Kind of. Do you know where everyone has that like 11 o'clock moment where everything is just like, this couldn't get any worse?
Yeah.
And then obviously it all turns around and it like somehow, just by magic, like the deep moment, the moment where it gets really deep, and it's just like, oh wow. What other tropes? I love, do you know what? I love a little I love a reveal. I love like a twist.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
Yeah.
Plot twist moments are my fave. And I also love, do you know what? One that's really ridiculous, but that will just never get old is the one where they're just like kind of like a disbelief moment when a character changes and all they've done is like change their hair and like put on different clothes, and then all of a sudden they're like,
yeah, like the makeover trope when they come out, they have like the most boring haircut and everyone's like, wow, reveal,
wow, you need help, and then all of a sudden they're just this different person. I love that. Like it just never gets old. Or when they're trying to be someone else and all they've done is like put glasses on. I'm just like,
that's what we said that recently. It's like, using Hannah Montana as an example, how did no one know she just had a blonde wig? I don't know.
I know what was
going on there, but you know, we take it as it is.
Good.
Take it as it is.
So good.
Back to Purple Beatz, of course. Sort of one of the underlying themes in the film was about kind of almost giving up on, you know, the dream and being forced into a corner or being, you know, pushed into something that wasn't intentionally what you had as the goal in mind. I don't know if you've experienced that in trying to sort of push yourself through the industry. What would you say? Do you have any advice for if that is how you felt, or if people that are young creatives might be having the same sort of issues?
Yeah, it's funny because it happens in lots of different ways. Like sometimes it can be quite you kind of in that moment before you've even realized it, and you're like, oh, I'm on this job and it doesn't feel like what I want to be doing. Or similar, like musical theatre, I kind of love the world. I love like I love watching them, I love being in them. But for some reason I felt a bit stuck, and I was just like, oh, maybe this is, it just caused me more stress than it did excitement. And I reached a point where I was like, is this why I'm here? Is this why I started to do it in the first place? And then when you look at other options, and when you really hone in on what you want to do and what lights you up, it, for some reason, I just can't explain it, it's just like things do then show up in the same, like in the same line of what you're heading for. Just like this film kind of popped up for me, where I just went, what do I actually love? What lights me up? And I was like, storytelling, naturalistic straight acting, theatre, music, and singing in a way that isn't like, more on my terms, in my vibe. And just out the blue, like this, I got a new agent, and this was the first job that came in. So I think even now I'm finding that it's one of those things of like, I say this to my partner a lot, where we're watching things and I'm like, diversity, mama. I'm like, get like Southeast Asians, we need to see more of them.
This comes up
and
so
I'm just
often.
like, yeah, I'm just like, I want to see more of them. I want a why is casting not shifting? And the best advice I was given, because I was getting all like high horse about it, and because I care, because I was really passionate in a passionate moment, and he was just like, "Sweet, I hear you. Like, what do you think's the best way to go about it?" My advice is that if you're not seeing the kind of stuff that you want to happen, you've just got to kind of make it work. You've got to make it happen. You've got to go and write something. You've got to go and put yourself in spaces or rooms, or write to people, or keep like backing yourself, basically, because that's part of the hustle, is just going, if it doesn't feel right, what does feel right, and then I'm going to focus on that. So for me, that looks like writing a play at the moment, and one that is from my sphere of experience, and one that I can go, of course I can tell this story. I could tell loads of stories, but for now, like, what can I do that I can step into as a Southeast Asian actor? So yeah.
Amazing. It's so weird you mentioned that. One of the things we do is we typically recast like an episode. We'll have a cast and we'll say, who would we recast? And we did Bridgerton recently, and obviously the Ifra and Simone. And when we were coming up with recasts, we were like, it's actually a lot harder than you think, because there's not enough representation of South Asian, like, out on a limb. Obviously, there's so many. So it's so interesting. But yeah, I think that's so great. What play, like, what's the, obviously you don't spill, but what's the play that you're writing? What's the backstory there?
At the moment, so it's kind of it's about cultural identity, actually. It's about it kind of questions the notion of how we shape identity, and specifically in regards to culture, especially people who have like multiple connections to different cultures, and where they feel the divide, and like how we kind of find ourselves in a wider society that's filled with loads of different expectations and different like beautifully blended societies, but also some old stuff that still hasn't budged, that I've kind of felt in my life at times. And it's one of, I'm hoping it's kind of like a kind of abstract, a bit punchy, a bit kind of like I May Destroy You, Fleabag sort of vibes. Just is quite honest and raw, and quite takes a look at nature versus nurture, and like how much that plays into us as human beings. And yeah, finding your place, really.
It's so good. I think one of the things we really appreciated in Purple Beatz was how, like, you could really feel London's presence in the movie. And one of the iconic scenes was the roller skating when you were in that section of Southbank underneath.
Yes.
Every Londoner will know that location immediately. So do
Yeah.
you have any places in London? If you have any places, what are those places that you think are iconic or that you would instantly recognize?
Mm. Um, so I go to Covent Garden like way too much.
Yeah,
Like
agreed.
in the way that I'm like, come on now, branch
Yeah.
out. You can go to other places, but I just think that whole area just sums up like old world versus new meets new world, and I'm just like, oh, just Covent Garden. It just has this like really historical heart. Um, so yeah, Covent Garden would be one. Crossing the Thames would be another one where you can see the London Eye.
Yeah.
That Southbank, the skate park thing is one of them, and it was so cool as well because we filmed like in the dead of night, obviously, so that we could get like no one else there. And it was weird. It was one of those really funny moments where I was like, "Yeah, this is London. We're in London."
Yeah.
And yeah, it's. I think I'm just trying to think of other iconic places. But yeah, those are my like or Trafalgar Square or
Yeah.
basically monuments. But
Yeah.
some places do just have a feel like the feel of London,
Yeah.
like Brick Lane as well, Brick Lane and
Brick
places like that.
I feel like there's
Yeah.
always something to find, even though we've been to Covent Garden hundreds of times. There's always like a little nook or a cranny, and there's always something different going on. So I think that's a great, and it's been there for forever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everyone loves it. So really great, and I feel like as well, London, not to be too deep, but in this film is quite a big character in itself. Just the whole
Yeah.
London as a whole, because we were talking about how you don't have phones really, like you text, but it's not like the bit. It's not. It doesn't center around that, and therefore everything else in the film becomes so much more heightened. I feel like London was such a massive character because your character specifically was getting overwhelmed and heading back to Bournemouth regularly. That was like a couple of times in the film that came up. So I feel like London as a whole was a really important character. If you had to sort of get away, where's your getaway? So Bournemouth was your characters, obviously, but for you personally, where's your like escape?
Well, I've got I mean, ideally it would be abroad. It would be like some nice beach somewhere in the Maldives or, you know. But if I'm talking more like reg on the reg, I go see my parents in Bakewell in Derbyshire where the Bakewell tarts are made. It's a really cool place. It's so quiet. Like everyone moves really slow, and like it's just the opposite to London. And actually, more recently, Newcastle because like my partner's Geordie, and just going to the coast, like the sea. I feel like the sea and the beach is the kind of antidote to city life for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
So another thing we do on our podcast is ask guests their favorite 5 films. So you obviously this is very difficult and you're on the spot, but if you could think of a couple of your favorite films that you think everyone needs to watch, what would they be?
Oh, that everyone needs to watch.
We've really put you on.
That's a very
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I can right. So I can tell you some of my favorite films. Whether everyone needs to watch them or not, I guess like I'll back them.
Okay.
So I tell everyone my favorite film is Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
So that's one of my like all-time favorites.
Yeah.
And still is to this day. I think I think this is when they all go out of my head. I mean Titanic.
Yeah.
I feel like Titanic is a classic.
Such a classic.
And then I've got like classic 90s ones like Mrs. Doubtfire,
Yes.
Really
which
good.
is a great film.
Yeah.
And also weirdly, like The Green Mile is
Ooh.
also really good.
That seems so
Ooh.
cool. Oh no. That's a good one.
Really cool.
Really enjoyed stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit random. And also I mean a more recent one that I really super loved, which is totally different vibe, is Joker. I really love Joker.
Yeah.
So they're all a bit random, but that is my
Of course.
suggestion.
So we will ask you what your upcoming projects are, so you can give us like a little. I mean, you talked about your play, of course, but is there anything else? Obviously, Purple Beatz, guys, obviously. But is there anything else other than that that you would like to talk about or tell us what's going on?
Yes, I do. It's very exciting, but it's probably going to be quite brief because I can't really say much about it. But
Keep guessing.
an exciting series. Yeah, let's just put that out there.
And is there anywhere you want people to be able to find you? Can we get like a handle or a website? What would you like people to check you out on?
Yeah, I've got my little Instagram, which is, there's no easy way to spell it out. It's like Izzy. So it is. This is the way my brain works. It's supposed to be like it's me, Izzy, but I did it cool. Like
I'll put it on the screen.
Is me. So it's like is.me.izzy with IZZY.
Yeah.
Is my Instagram, or Twitter, which is Izzy L Jones. Just all in one thing. So yeah, those are the ones that I'll probably post stuff on.
We'll put it somewhere on the screen.
Thank you so much, and we love the film. We're so excited for everyone to see it.
Thank you so much for watching this interview. If you enjoyed, definitely make sure to check out the other interviews we have on this channel. And make sure you check out our podcast as seen on our other channel. Everything will be linked in the description below.